We should be good to go, Dr. Lane. Speaking and under which side? So we have the 4 rounds of government. What do you group like the podium up front to speak up?
Yeah, I don't need the podium. It's awkward for me to stare down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Going up there each time. We'll do it practice.
I'll be the odd one out.
We'll do it as an option. Sign up whichever round you're going, you want to sign up. You have all your teammates. Jay, you have all your teammates. I'll have one of your teammates, so just wherever you're doubling up on one of the speeches, right?
Conclusion, yes.
Okay, I was like, it's some blank stares. No worries. Just sign up for whichever slot you're going. That way I know who I'm grading at the time.
Okay.
Little bit, I didn't have the schedule for it. Very close. Excited to get it over with.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, one last for. The mic is dead. Oh, mic's dead, so I'll speak really loud. I'm also gonna record it. That mic is dead.
I mean, if Riley's been with yours from the time. Just,
As long as there's some kind of recording of it.
yeah, should be all right.
Yeah, I'll do a recording.
We have a good question. So we have 2 RRAs, so do 5 minutes is split between us 2, or we each get 5 minutes?
How did y'all practice it? Each get 5 minutes? I mean, I'll trust y'all.
Okay.
But that would, you don't feel good doing full 5 minutes?
You want to split it or?
If you remember the practice debate that, so that we had to watch, Dr. It was 5 close remote.
We'll do that. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
No, that's the whole point.
All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to the, what is it? Fall 2024. Okay, cool. So how exciting. Y'all worked really hard on this whole semester, I hope. Yes, Judge, I know nothing about what y'all worked on, so I'm very excited to see it. Yeah, it's just gonna work. We're gonna start with our government and we're just gonna go back and forth, right? You have up to 5 minutes. Keep in mind that after your first minute and up until that final minute, point of interest can be raised, right? It's up to you as the speaker to recognize the point of interest. You can deny them. It's totally up to you, right? I will say that use those to your advantage, right? Those are the time you know your stuff, show it off, right? Have the opportunity to ask a question. It's more exciting that way. But yeah, as you're going, Eleanor will be your timekeeper. I was thinking, and if you would like something different, please tell Eleanor at the start of your speech. But Eleanor's gonna hold up 1 minute. Once the buffer zone is done, that way everybody else knows that they can raise point of interest. You're then going to get 3 minutes when you're at 3, 4 minutes when you're at 4, and at 5 minutes you will be stopped. Okay. Sound good? All right. And keep in mind there's no prep time. So as soon as the person in front of you is done, please come up or stand up at your chair or stay from your chair, however you practice. Start whenever you're ready, right? I'll say your name if I need to, but I shouldn't have to, right? Just make sure we're bouncing. Sound good? And then those who are here for extra credit, I will pass it around for you. Well, without further ado, the government interpretation. Our first speaker, Jay, whenever you're ready.
Hello, I'm Jay, and with me today are Christopher, Eric, and Eva. Together, we'll affirm the resolution, social media does more harm than good. We'll demonstrate how platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube negatively impact mental and physical well-being. Our case focuses on 2 key contentions. Social media encourages addictive behavior and inhibits cognitive development. First, let's define social media from the Journal of Computer-Mediated Communication. Social media refers to online platforms and applications that enable users to create, share, and interact with content and each other. Designed to maximize engagement, these platforms use features like notifications, infinite scrolling, and social validation mechanisms, likes, comments, and shares, which can encourage compulsive use. Examples include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, etc. In this vein, we'll look at social media through 2 ethical lenses: utilitarianism and deontology. Utilitarianism is all about weighing the overall good versus the harm. Here, the addictive designs and negative impacts on mental health clearly outweigh any benefits, showing the need for regulation. Deontology, meanwhile, focuses on moral responsibilities, like how social media companies should prioritize users over profits. Since these companies often exploit users instead, it reinforces our argument that social media does more harm than good. Both perspectives make it clear social media isn't living up to the ethical standards. Our first contention states that social media encourages addictive behavior, compromise the well-being of society. So social media platforms are designed to tap into our addictive tendencies with features like endless scrolling and constant notifications. These tricks mess with your brain's reward system by releasing dopamine, the feel-good chemical. Max Fisher from the New York Times explains that when the system gets hijacked, it pushes people towards repetitive and even harmful behavior. Social media isn't officially labeled as an addiction in the DSM-5, but studies show it works just like other recognized addictions, encouraging impulsive use that disrupts daily life. In the attention economy, these platforms profit by keeping us hooked. Social media is like a shopping addiction. It gives quick hits of dopamine through likes, shares, and comments. A 2018 study by Key, last name Key, and colleagues explains that this dopamine loop locks users in, chasing small bursts of validation. The difference? Shopping addiction is recognized and regulated, while social media isn't, even though the harm is just as real. These profit-first designs prioritize keeping you engaged over protecting your mental health, making regulation essential to limit the damage. Our second contention states that social media harms youth development and cognitive function. Spending too much time on social media is linked to actual changes in the brain, especially in the corpus callosum, the part that connects the left and right side. Research from Yip and colleagues in 2013 shows that overuse breaks down white matter in the brain, which slows mental processing and messes with decision making. Other studies by Lin in 2012 and Yuan in 2011 point out that this damage impacts thinking and puts academic and career success at risk. It's clear we need to protect brain development from these effects. Social media encourages people to rely on mental shortcuts instead of thinking critically. The cognitive reflection test created by Frederick in 2005 shows how people often go for quick, wrong answers. Research by Capitelli and Garens in 2014 provides that even college students struggle with this. Daniel Kahneman's work in 2011 ties this to social media's endless stream of content, which trains users to react fast instead of thinking deeply. This damages problem-solving and decision-making skills, making success harder to achieve. So in conclusion, social media poses serious risks to youth cognitive health and societal well-being. Its addictive designs and harmful cognitive impact demand immediate attention. By supporting this resolution, we take the first steps towards securing the mental and academic success of future generations.
Hello, my name is Maria, and today I'll be negating the resolution on balance, social media does more harm than good. The negative team will prove that social media does not do more harm than good because it provides a platform for all to advocate for themselves, as well as guidelines that guarantee safe space to do so. The framework for today's debate is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is when the right choice is the one that does more good than harm. Our first contention is free speech, and self-contained is the flow of ideas. Social media allows for marginalized communities to advocate for their rights and create more awareness. Movements such as the Black Lives Matter movement advocate for racial justice against police brutality. The #MeToo movement helped raise awareness about sexual harassment and assault. March for Our Lives, which emerged in 2018 after a mass shooting at a high school in Florida, utilizes social media to advocate for gun control and against gun violence. And many more have used social media platforms such as X, Instagram, Twitter, and more to give survivors a platform to share their stories. Not only does it allow for groups to advocate for progress and therefore create progress, social media overall allows for all people, no matter what backgrounds they come from, to have a voice and speak up for their beliefs, their values, their principles, and their morals. Subplan B is user error. When it comes to the flow of ideas, we must also take into consideration that when our ideas are spread on a large scale, there will be consequences. But it is the user's sole responsibility when joining such platforms to understand the adverse effects and to know how to handle it. As social media users, it is our responsibility to engage with social media responsibly. Such harm attributed to social media stems from user error rather than the platforms themselves. And most, if not all, social media platforms have some sort of algorithm that prioritizes content based on someone's interaction. When a person engages with certain hashtags or a certain type of content, the algorithm shows more of the same content. Algorithms favor content with a lot of engagement online, like likes, shares, and comments, which many times may lead to misinformation. When users fail to critically assess the information they see online and react emotionally or impulsively to the information, misinformation spreads. But in any cases of cyberbullying are rooted in user actions, not the platform designs. In these cases, platform guidelines or policies are set in place to reduce hate speech and or bullying, as well as cyberbullying, as well as filters that block certain comments or messages containing certain words or phrases. Second contention is guidelines, or in other words, regulated ending. Subpoint A is the guidelines exist to prevent harm from being done on social media. Social media ranging from Instagram to Facebook, Snapchat, especially YouTube, all have guidelines set into place to protect users from others misusing the platforms. Instagram, Facebook, and X, for example, all have slightly varying verification systems set to protect their users, as well as the ability to block or report any other users. And YouTube Kids moderates comments and chats, has a safety mode to block explicit content, as well as the ability to flag explicit content on regular YouTube. And Subpoint B is enhancing positive engagement. When social media platforms encourage positive interactions, people are more likely to engage in those interactions. Platforms with guidelines that prioritize respectful language and prohibit harmful language create a more engaging and fun atmosphere online. The fun features like top comments or featured content help promote good content and encourage users to contribute content that uplifts, educates, inspires, and entertains others. Positive online environment then benefits mental health. Because of the guidelines, rules, and mechanics set into place, social media users can avoid content that harms their health. And even if it creates harm, users can report it and block the content from ever popping up on their feed again. This creates a better and safer space, which in turn makes mental health better because people are being exposed to content they want to see, which in turn makes them feel better. The answer to the question mentioned above then is clear. Social media does not do more harm than good. Due to the myriad protections set into place by the companies themselves, And additionally, social media allows everyone to have a voice and contribute to the flow of ideas. We see no other choice but to vote negative in this round.
The fact that if, oh, sorry. I started too early. Okay, the fact that if someone who's withdrawn from advice and they would experience similar symptoms to someone with another form of addiction really should set the case with it being classified as an addiction. When someone uses social media, the cycle works like this. Easy access to find something to get an instant gratification hit, locates that said something that they wanted to find, gratification begins to disappear, and the cycle restarts. So, this addiction affects a person other than by mere wastage of time. It alters how the brain functions. A study undertaken by the University of Chicago has showed that an excessive utilization had a lack of attention span, impulse control, and decision making. Multiplying consequences in grave mental disorders with heavy social media usage is significantly associated with increased rates of anxiety, depression, and body image, especially in adolescents and young adults. This is about the platforms building a compare and despair culture. These are places individuals visit with the belief that they have to measure up to other people's unrealistic and curated visuals of their lives. This builds a person's attitude of inadequacy. Yes, sir.
You keep on establishing this point of addiction. Are there not methods to combat against addiction, social media addiction specifically?
Well, obviously withdrawing from your device, obviously, but 95% of the time that's not possible to do, especially if you are an adult living in the world.
So how exactly is that not possible to do? If you mind if I ask this follow-up?
Technology is used for basically everything. If you need to get a job, you need to use technology. If you need to receive any kind of mail or any other sort of info from your said job or the family members, you need technology.
Do you mind if I ask another follow-up?
Yes, sir.
What about social media use? Is that not avoidable?
Social media usage could, in a sense, be avoidable if you are not in an environment that requires the use of it.
All right, thank you.
So according to a recent study in Science on social media, fake news is traveling 6 times faster than the truth because algorithms like engagement more than accuracy. Visible consequences are polarization, which increases, and fast-growing distrust of so-called institutional players, governments, and media. Finally, there are economic consequences. Continuous distractions because of social media have been reported in various studies undertaken at the University of California, Irvine, to reduce workplace productivity as high as 40%. This percentage weighs in at $1 billion lost annually as employees labor to balance focus with compulsive scrolling. If trends continue, the future workforce will be even less productive, innovation will slow, and the economy stagnates. Most disturbingly, perhaps, this has become normalized. Common Sense Media reports that a staggering 62% of teens and 35% preteens use social media daily, many of them logging on 4 to 8+ hours a day. Those habits are being set younger and younger, placing kids onto a spiraling snowball wherein each successive generation inherits the worst behaviors from the one that came before. So in conclusion, social media addiction is more than a personal issue, social one. In the way it fuels mental ill health today, it's laying the ground for core relationships, communities, and shared future in the years to come. Unless these harms are dealt with, there's even a real danger of slipping into a world devoid of critical thinking, emotional connections, and even stability within society. Now is the time to realize these dangers and taking action to preserve not just ourselves, but also our future generations.
All right, for starters, I would like to talk about my opponent's team. But before I get into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Damian Cheeto Vasquez, and I'm here to proudly negate that social media does more harm than good. Let's talk about the facts here. Now, my opponents have brought up two main contentions. as their argument. Social media addiction and the overall well-being of children and their mental health. Now, we can concede that social media addiction is existent within the usage of social media. It's just a simple fact. We use our phones every day. But what we don't need to concede is that social media isn't necessarily this evil, addictive application that is constantly used. For starters, there are methods that exist within social media, which if you take a look at their own argument, where it states that social media is putting profit over people, social media actually has been taking the necessary measures to put people ahead of their profits and taking a more people over profit stance with social media limitations that pop up on your screen, stating that, hey, you've been on this app for a little too long. You should probably go outside and touch some grass and actually enjoy the sun. The fact is that social media isn't evil. Yeah.
So you state that, like when you're scrolling TikTok, a little video shows up, it says go outside, touch grass. That was put in there by a regulation, from, the government. And the reason why it was put in was because the government was able to recognize that social media does harm. If the government did not step in, what would you say about social media platforms not putting that in because all of their ad revenue is based on that infinite scrolling loop?
Actually, prior to the regulation, the time limitations did exist. So that whole point doesn't even stand in this debate. And on top of that, self-discipline is a very real thing. People have the ability to self-discipline, and we can't ignore that. Just because something is addictive doesn't mean that people can't step in and take responsibility for their own actions. Now, we're here to debate that social media does more harm than good. And we're saying here that social media can't possibly do more harm than good because of self-regulatory action and actions taken by social media to help protect the public, which are very real things that stand today. And on top of that, from Mental Health Education Weekly as of February 2024, even though social media has some negative impacts, it helps solve those impacts in the long run by creating better and more open venues for people with depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders. And let's cross-apply this with the point of user error. We see that this turns our opponent's case and makes it flow negative in today's debate. For starters, mental health impact can be solved using social media. Second, even if they can't, users can simply log off, and that's not an impossible thing to do. Self-discipline is very real, and that stands today. And they can't disprove that people can't have self-discipline. I will now take your question.
Okay. You say that social media, you're making this argument that if social media is a personal choice, why do studies show so many young users can't regulate their time online?
Oh, and you want to bring up the fact of young users. Let's talk about parents. Parents can step in and regulate young users from being on their phones in the first place. That's a very real thing. If you want to talk about young users, parents do have authority over their children, and we can't ignore that fact. Parents should step in, regulate, and do their responsibility as a parent, which is to protect their children from harmful media. But even then, you cross-apply arguments of guidelines, which the guidelines prevent children from even being on social media in the first place, and that is an error of their family. And on top of that, the guidelines also protect people from negative media consumption through reports, through blocking. To avoid cyberbullying, you can simply block someone. And on top of that, social media has so many positive uses that there is no real world where social media actually does more harm than good. If the questioning period is now over. And to conclude, social media is actually a tool that all of us can use for the greater good. Thank you.
Please allow me to restate our case line. Our case is grounded in the undeniable harm that social media inflicts on mental health, cognitive function, privacy, and real-world social relations. Social media platforms, despite their claims to promote connectivity, foster addictive behaviors, compromise user privacy, and reduce quality of interpersonal interaction. These detrimental effects are supported by extensive research and growing global concern. Something I'd like to refute is I like that you guys conceded that social media is an addiction, which I really appreciate. And I feel like it must be noted that despite it not being considered an addiction, it's inherently predatory and causes echo chambers. So you guys keep mentioning how social media is good because it allows you to see content you like. And this might sound good, but it allows people to get stuck in echo chambers which can cause hate. And then you guys also mentioned before about social media amplifying advocacy. Peer-reviewed research by Lynch in 2024 discusses how movements like Black Lives Matter have been diluted by performative activism, such as posting Black lives on Instagram. This has led to fragmentation of the movement and has led to groups like All Lives Matter and a rising response which allow hatred and overshadow the core message of systematic racism.
Again, all of that is just user error, and social media does not inherently create a space where that is just bound to happen, but all of that is just attributed to user error.
To go with that, you guys might call it social media being allowing user error, but social media loves to push forward whatever gets likes and views, and this means not everything has to be true. So maybe there's just so much user error by social media pushing it forward.
What exactly is an echo chamber?
What is an echo chamber? An echo chamber is it's a room online where new ideas can no longer come in, and the same ideas are sent back and forth.
How exactly does social media create an echo chamber?
Okay, so like you guys asked me before, like you guys mentioned before, how social media allows endless scrolling. We both said that's allowed, but what you like and the hashtags you interact with make it so your entire feed sometimes like TikTok will let you see your For You page, new stuff comes in, but then you also get stuff where you just see the same things over and over again, and echo chambers spawn from there. You'll see the same content over and over again, true or false, and nothing. So what I was saying before, okay, so the echo chambers, it just causes people to stay in the same place without new information coming in. And then also mentioned before, users cannot manage their own usage. While it may seem like users can manage their social media habits, the addictive nature of these platforms makes self-regulation challenging for many. Social media platforms are intentionally designed to trigger addictive behaviors through features like endless scrolling notifications, reward system. Studies show that social media usage patterns resemble those of other behavioral addiction. And then earlier, my opponent mentioned that apps that prioritize safety do have steps involved making changes, but this is only caused through regulation, not for their own doing. I'm looking for parts of regulation. The Digital Service Act in the European Union mandates that tech companies disclose their algorithms, which prove to be predatory and practice ethical data management. It is necessary, this action is necessary step in mitigating the negative effects of social media.
Before we start, I would like to say that social media is a medium in and of itself. It is a tool for communication, connection, education, awareness, information, entertainment, so on. So how can a tool itself do more harm than good? Like all tools, social media can be abused or used correctly depending on the user. In fact, I can go as far as to say that social media does not do more harm than good, rather the people with the intention to do harm do the harm themselves. The argument that social media causes mental health issues is such an oversimplified view that doesn't fully consider broader context or actual data. Some studies do link excessive social media use to feelings of depression or anxiety. However, correlation does not imply causation. Social media use is often associated with depressive symptoms, but it's critical to recognize that people experiencing depression may already be more likely to turn to social media for comfort, validation, distraction. Researchers from University of Oxford, Professor Andrew and Dr. Maddie Boré compared two studies in particular. The first contrasted the psychological well-being of over 2 million people in 168 countries over 16 years with their mobile broadband subscription and internet usage. The second examined data on 3 types of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and self-harm across 200 countries over 19 years. In the study, they found the majority of users social media has minimal impact on their mental health, either positively or negatively. Furthermore, social media provides a ton of social support for people facing depression. Many other studies were also conducted, yet none could find a causal link between social media and psychological well-being. In the fall of 2022, Pew Research Study Center did a massive study on kids and teens and found that a majority of teens, social media was way more helpful than harmful. The American Psychological Association, the U.S. Surgeon General, the Journal of Pediatrics, all in 2023 released studies after studies, yet none could find an actual causal link between social media and harm. I can also address beauty standards and the concern over images and content promoting certain beauty standards. Unlike unrealistic beauty standards have been perpetuated by traditional media for decades, social media, by contrast, has empowered body positive and diverse representation movements. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok are full of influencers and campaigns that promote body diversity, reject unrealistic beauty standards. And as far as social media companies may try to protect people, this incentivizes user addiction would be finding the name that feeds them. The users are not the customers. We are the product. I acknowledge that even though the root problem is very systemic, individual people's actions uphold this system. I do not intend to avoid the idea of corporate. Okay, so you're making this argument that social media is able to create connectivity and all these other good parts of social media, but how do platforms prioritize genuine connection when their design encourages superficial interactions such as likes and comments over deep, meaningful relationships? Well, I mean, again, it is a user error thing. If when you're on social media and you're genuinely seeking out genuine relationships, you can. Multiple social medias allow you to do that. I have seen so many good philosophical interactions on Reddit. I've seen Instagram, TikTok. I've seen people promoting movements and people finding genuine friendships online. It is possible. You just have to speak it. Yes.
So that statement about how it creates philosophical relationships, it's clear and obvious that that is not a good thing because there has been a rise in fans that are crazy for a celebrity or influencer that they observe from afar and have actually.
I mean, again, it is a user error thing. Like, if you're going online and you have parasocial relationships with celebrities online, then it's not the company's fault or the social media app's fault, because the social media app does not promote the content of the celebrity for you to have parasocial relationships with them.
But shouldn't they have a good system of being able to create where?
I mean, there are apps social media apps that have a lot of the filters or a lot of regulations that they have. It is hard to oversee all of these people online because we have so many people. But again, the companies do try to regulate it. Hi, my name is Eva, and I'll be doing the summary of today's speech. First, I would like to extend on our case and what we are advocating for. Our case is built on a strong foundation of evidence and ethical reasoning. Research from experts like Max Fisher and studies by he and colleagues show how addictive design exploits the brain's dopamine system, creating behavior patterns similar to substance addiction. Beyond mental health, cognitive studies by Yip and others reveal how social media damages critical brain functions, harming decision-making and academic success. Ethically, platforms prioritize profit over user, as seen in the attention economy and lack of regulation. Our evidence is robust and our ethical argument is undeniable. Social media's impact is deeply damaging and the need for action is urgent. Firstly, Chris mentioned that social media's addictive designs proven by behavioral science to mimic substance addiction, reduce gray matter density in brain regions tied to decision-making and impulse control, as shown by the University of Chicago. The Royal Society for Public Health links heavy use to increase anxiety and depression, while Pew Research reports that 40% of teens feel left out due to social media. These harms jeopardize mental health, cognitive function, social well-being, making immediate action essential. Secondly, Eric mentioned that social media's exploitation of users through addictive design, privacy violations, and data-driven profit schemes amplifies harms on a societal scale, undermining mental health, autonomy, and trust. With growing global calls for regulation, such as the EU's Digital Service Act, it's clear the need for accountability is urgent. The Comp case brings values of connectivity, user error, and how it improves mental health. However, the case remains strong by addressing the resolution directly. Social media does more harm than good. First, platforms exploit psychological vulnerabilities through features like endless scrolling and notifications, fostering compulsive behaviors that harm mental health. Second, excessive use damages cognitive development in youth, impairing decision-making and critical thinking, which threatens academic and personal success. Together, these points highlight the significant mental and cognitive risks supporting the resolution. Social media poses serious risks to youth cognitive health and societal well-being. Its addictive designs and harmful cognitive impacts demand immediate attention. By supporting this resolution, we take the first step towards safeguarding the mental and academic success of future generations. Vote affirmative. Here, and today we are dealing with the important question: does social media do more harm than good? The answer is clear: it does not. Social media holds incredible potential that, when harnessed responsibly, can positively impact nearly every aspect of our life. It connects us globally, empowers social change, and supports education, which can help promote mental health awareness. The positive aspects of social media continue to grow as a platform as we learn to use it in ways that benefit individuals, communities, and society as a whole. Today, I stand in support of resolution that social media does more good than harm. While social media certainly has its challenges, the positive assurance that it makes the job opportunities, networking, education, and learning are undeniable. These benefits are a way of enhancing human interaction and can lead to a better relationship and understanding of different people and cultures. One of the biggest benefits of social media is its ability to support professional development. In today's world, social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram are not just for connecting with friends. They are powerful tools for people to network and build their careers. Many people have found jobs simply by connecting with others online. In some cases, social media has helped people turn their passions into full-time jobs, like YouTube and Instagram, of course. It allows people to create and share content, building a career based on their creativity. Along with, along with this opportunity for individuals to freely express themselves and to contribute to what's important, it brings others to share their ideas, thoughts, and passions with the world by sharing their similar interests with others. The power to express oneself freely is one of the key aspects that makes social media so powerful. Social media has proven itself to be a force for good in the world. Social media has given rise to a new era of self-expression, whether it's a video on TikTok, post on Instagram, or stories on Snapchat. Social media offers individuals a platform to express themselves, share their stories, and showcase their talents to a global audience. This all shows to tell the overall impact of social media is positive. Despite the concerns that have been raised, social media is a real big on protections and safeguards that are implemented by the company. Social media platforms are known for placing numerous protections that help prevent any government forms such as reporting tools and privacy controls. These concepts ensure that users can engage in a safer environment. As social media continues to play an increasingly central role in our lives, we must recognize that its future depends on how we choose to use it. In conclusion, social media is a force of good. It promotes a connection with people, free expression, and positive change. The online protection and safety features in place further ensure that social media can be a safe and empowering space for all users. For these reasons, we firmly believe that social media does more good than harm, and therefore we strongly urge you to vote negative in turn. Thank you.
The W5 states that social media encourages addictive behavior and that social media harms youth development, social media, relationships, addiction, lack of privacy, data-driven profit schemes, reduced quality interactions, and other aspects that cause an individual to spiral into the trap of mental health and the trap of fake news. In conclusion, utilitarianism is when the right choice is made for the greater good. Social media provides a space for the flow of ideas and advocacy. Guidelines are set to guarantee a safe space and to prevent any harm, allowing others to voice their opinion. And because it is based upon user error and digital literacy, it enhances positive engagement, allowing others to connect and interact with others. Therefore, social media is a platform based upon user error, and when used responsibly, is a virtual atmosphere for all to advocate for themselves and their beliefs, allowing individuals to have a voice that they might not have elsewhere. Social media has an important potential when harnessed responsibly, can positively impact nearly every aspect of our lives. It connects globally, empowers social change, supports education and lifelong learning, fosters creativity, promotes mental health awareness, and provides economic opportunities. The positive aspects of social media continues to grow as platforms evolve, as we learn to use them in ways that benefit individuals, communities, and societies. Thank you.
No round of applause. I mean, you all worked really hard. Really great work from both sides. You gave me what I wanted. It makes it tough to judge and debate. That's what I want. A little later tonight, or tomorrow morning, let's see how the day goes, but I will be putting in comments, so keep a lookout, as well as I'll be putting grades in there. Although, Dr. Lane or one of your TAs might go in there and change them a little later on. So that's what the recording's for. But yeah, without further ado, I will say the plan, right? Both sides did good. Both sides had some great speeches. I was thoroughly impressed. I really enjoyed it, but I do have to give it to the other. But I really. And thank y'all for your hard work on this. If you're here for extra credit, make sure you sign for you. And then we're good to go. It's over. You did it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, good job. Good job, you guys. Yeah. Yep.
No, I'm just kidding.